Okay, so this video, I just want to break down what a business as a machine looks like and where many kingdom entrepreneurs are missing it and wondering why their business isn't working. So, this is not a formal training. This was literally just a riff off of an idea that came to me this morning, and just this feeling of how many people I've encountered over these years that are so anointed, so gifted, so healing in the marketplace, something that has impacted and changed my lives, but because they cannot figure out the consistent sales piece, years later, they're still challenged by financial instability and now allowing that to erode, eating into their faith, eating into other areas of their life. So, who I'm talking to are people that are just like myself, sold out remnant. We live surrendered, yielded lives. Our number one priority is to stay connected to the vine. Apart from Christ, we can do nothing. So we prioritize intimacy above all else and making sure that we maintain and cultivate that relationship with the Lord. Do we do this perfectly? No. But I believe that God is sovereign, God is holy, He is the King and He is everything, and that He's also our Father. So there are oftentimes so many places in my faith where I'm just learning how to walk or learning what it even looks like, how to do that part of my area with Christ. So I don't make mistakes because I want to. Sometimes I don't know something. But that's who I'm talking about. So we never, ever disregard obedience. And for me, oftentimes, a lot of the obedience for just, committing to do business God's way sometimes had nothing to do with actually building. It had to be dealing with obedience in other areas of my life. That's most of the time where I had to deal with it because everything is connected and all of it matters. And I believe the Lord wants to grow people in the marketplace who are connected to his heart, that steward it well, that operate from their identity in Christ, their sonship, knowing that all these things he has already assigned to us. And so we don't operate to perform to get it. We operate knowing that we're going to go through whatever's required to be a part of the preparation process so that we can actually steward it well and steward it in freedom. So a lot of times I feel like there's so many people that are like this, but because the business isn't making sales and consistently, then you just think, oh my gosh, maybe like my obedience is off or whatever the case is. Now, here's the thing that may be true in certain contexts. That's why I say they're not independent of each other. So I'm not talking to you if you have to, deal with some stuff with your obedience. But just like the analogy that I shared earlier in my post, I said, it's like you prayed for God to help you to build a car, and then you leave out the engine, and then you're wondering why it's not working. Then you continue to pray and ask God, why is the car not working? And then to think that it's something to do with you or your obedience when the car doesn't have an engine. And then let's say you put the engine in. Well, what makes the engine go? Gas. So then you're like, oh, okay. Now, obviously, again, there's so many other components to that, but that's kind of what it looks like when I see this, because what I recognize is a lot of entrepreneurs as well don't understand how business works and all of the systems that are required to make it work. And this is another reason why they're struggling, because you're doing things and you're not exactly sure how it fits into the big picture of what a business is supposed to do. Now, I'm not talking about, jumping from zero to like seven figures or whatever the case is. You may be starting at zero, you may be starting at 30, 40, 50K months, and people still at that point often struggle with financial instability because again all of their income is dependent upon them to create, because they're missing this system, they're missing the understanding of the system. And so I recognize so many people don't understand that, so it's hard for you actually to like be obedient because to actually building this correctly, because you might not even know what it is that you're looking for. So I believe if you get a little bit of knowledge, you get little bit of understanding, then with the wisdom of the Holy Spirit, he's going to make it make sense. So this is going to be very nerdy, like very, I'm just going to get this information out. And my prayer is that the Holy Spirit transfers that wisdom. And we're just going to go all over the place to make sure that you get this, okay? Because irregardless of how much you're going to make, whether you're going to seven-figure systems or whatever the case is, I do believe that the majority of people, when they're in business, desire to create consistent cash flow. Okay. And I believe that's also what every business should do in order to be considered a business. So just like where maybe you worked a 9 to 5 before, or you worked for someone else that was consistently paying you, they created systems or some sort of stability to be able to do that and make sure that they can take care of, what needs to be paid for. And at a 9 to 5, those are very secure systems that allow them to create sustainability, create predictability, and also see when things are draining so they can troubleshoot and optimize, or when things are working so that they can start to grow and scale them. So they have a system that they're mindful of. They're not trying to just post every day online hoping that it works, or trying to figure out what launch is going to. No, 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 no. There's systems and there's data. The data tells them exactly how to move based on real experience and based on real people moving through their system. So alternatively, people are the biggest thing, because you don't understand like what this system looks like, is that you're chasing a lot of organic strategies that are not designed to create sustainability. So if you have someone that has a big following, then and they don't rely on like ads or anything like that, it doesn't matter. They still have a system. They have a means of creating a new audience, growing their audience. You might notice that maybe their post viral, maybe people share and refer, or whatever the case is, or they've put out a ton of top of funnel content. They have a way to nurture that content and a way to convert that. And then at a certain point, once they've dialed in that system, irregardless of if it's organic, then they probably have continuity with their offer suite. Maybe offers that, once someone's done, they go to the next one, and that's how they increase their customer lifetime value. Or they have re recurring revenue offers. So that creates a stability in their foundation. And they may also have payment plans. So they've gotten to a place where they were able to spark their organic fire large enough in order to actually create that sustainability in their business. And then they have that continuity on the back end. They have that retention. They have that um, customer lifetime value. But most importantly, they know how to go and find a new audience. Because you don't know what that looks like, you're not seeing how that machine is working together. And then again, keep in mind that traffic, leads, and sales, it's very straightforward. Now, doing it organically is probably what you've been doing, and that's like literally the hard route. So I'm going to show you the route that makes sense to actually build momentum and sustainability that actually goes together, and you pair it with your organic and you pair it with everything else that you're doing. But a lot of people are missing this. Okay. And yes, you can absolutely grow a business with organic, but when you see what this looks like, you're going to realize why it was the harder route. Get one system in place and allow your organic to be the feed that's on top of it. Because once you have one system in place, you can actually see your numbers and read the data. So let's get into it. Let me get my little pen here. All right. So the big picture of a business as a machine doesn't necessarily have to have all of these details, but generally speaking, you do have a brand, some sort of vision, brand identity. It's the thing that God gave you. You have a person that you're called to serve. And I don't tend to niche unless you really have to niche, meaning if you serve people like women that are, not moms, like before they become a mom, that's a very specific niche. If you serve people who are moms, that's a very specific niche. If you serve only men or women or students or whatever, or kingdom entrepreneurs, that's a very specific niche. So actually define that, that's important, but in the sense of getting really, really granular, saying, okay, well, they only live here, they only do this, da, 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 I can only serve one niche. No, 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 no. If you have multiple offers, you can serve multiple niches, but the best way to think about it is, generally speaking, you probably serve like one main person, and you probably have multiple different offers. And the way that I like to niche is I like to niche problems that I solve. So this one person, she could have in one point of her life this problem, that problem, but it's generally still the same person. Once you kind of see that, it changes a lot. And then, of course, you have to have your offer. Without any of these, like you don't really have anything to put out into the world. So the next component is then that a lot of people are missing is what I've talked before, the cash flow system, traffic, leads, and sales. You have to have a viable way to get traffic. You have to have a viable way to collect those leads, and you have to have a viable way to convert them. And so, as I previously mentioned, most people are trying to post on Instagram. They're not even exactly sure what their growth content is or their marketing content or nurture. Everything's just like this big smorgasbord. And because you're in this mindset of daily sales, you're just hoping, you're just trying to post, hoping that it'll work. You're trying to find one strategy that's like, okay, maybe this is the launch that it's going to work. Or maybe if I do the Yap challenge, like this is the thing that's going to work, instead of understanding that you have to build a system. So if you have to build a system and it has to consist of traffic, leads, and sales, then when you actually look at marketing channels and marketing platforms, that's going to be very, very, very different in allowing you to see how do you actually build out that system. Okay. So I'm going to show you kind of what I've been talking about. So we have Instagram. Okay. And I'm talking about your growth. We're just going to call that top of funnel. And this is where I like to use trial reels. Why? Because trial reels are specifically designed to go and get cold, top of funnel, new eyeballs. At the end of the day, yes, you can sell to your same 100 like people or 1,000 people, whatever in your audience, but at a certain point, that warm pool has fatigued, and either the ones that already are were going to buy have purchased, and the ones that are not, it's not the right timing. So that's another reason why it feels crazy that you keep selling to the same, warm pool of people, and you're wondering why it's not working. And that's why you either have to create a new offer because hopefully you're trying to figure out what the next problem is in that pool to basically like spike the sales, or you're gonna have to do a launch to try to build it up. And then that's why you say, okay, maybe I just need more leads, which is basically new eyeballs, so that I can just get as many people inside of the launch and I can close them on a sales call. Do you see how hard that is? Okay. So on your feed, let's say you're doing your middle of funnel, your carousels and your lives, right? And generally speaking, selling in your story is where people, bottom of funnel. So when you start to look at Instagram as a viable traffic source, you stop trying to just post randomly and then you begin to post strategically. But here's the problem that I encounter with Instagram. Not everybody's seeing your content. They're not seeing your middle of funnel, your bottom of funnel, your stories. So they're not getting everything that's needed to turn them into leads and convert. So sometimes you have a lead post that gets hand raisers, and then you're trying to make a sales post, and then you're trying to mix in your authority post and your expertise post and your connection post and your story post. It's disconnected, is always seeing that. And that's why sometimes it feels crazy. So now you're trying to ask all of your Instagram content to generate the leads and the sales, while also at the same time, you don't have any sort of like new eyeballs coming in. Do you see how dead it is? So I'm going to show you and how hard that is. And yes, of course, it works on Instagram. But how long have you been doing this in order to spark that momentum? So what I like to do and look at Instagram as a viable traffic source is I say, okay, I need traffic. Trial Reels is traffic to a cold audience. Okay. You can do 20 trial reels a day. That's 600 a month, and they never show up on your feed. Where am I sending these to trial reels? I like to call it a fast funnel because a fast funnel isn't just a lead generating funnel. It's a lead, it covers your leads. So it generates those leads for you, and then it converts to sales. That's what the opt-in page, the email sequences are. That's what it does. So with a fast funnel, I have both of these two systems combined that are now being fed by this traffic. So I'm not relying on the Instagram algorithm to show my content, because inside of here, my bottom of funnel content is, once I get them inside of this in like the funnel, so to speak, right? Like I funnel them in, their focus is a lot clearer because now they're seeing me where they're not having distractions, and I can prayerfully get them to see everything that they need to see in order to convert, versus like all of these scattered posts on Instagram. It's not working. And it's even more like it's even, I don't know the right word. What is the right word? It's better. It's just better when you prove that your funnel converts, then you know you have a viable lead to sales system. And so at that point, it's all about, let me get another color because that's too light. At that point, it's all about then the traffic source. So I'm like, cool, I got my lead and sales systems to work. And so now I'm strategically using trial. This is traffic. This is just one way to do it, but I'm strategically using trial reels in order to now get cold leads, people that don't know me, into my funnel to convert. And so with trial reels, the beautiful part is that each of these systems has data. So I can see exactly where the bottlenecks are and where things are stuck. And I can clear those bottlenecks on my way to sales instead of wondering, you know, what part of the post was seen, what post wasn't. I don't know. That's really hard. And then even with trial reels, it's very strategic. There are, it's your hook and it's your caption. And so in the trial reels program that I have, I created a coaching bot to show you exactly how to do that for the goal of leads. And so what I do with this is that once you get past the hook, that means you can capture attention and move them in. And then boom, I've cleared one test. Now I'm not like shooting blind. I've cleared that path. The next is the caption. If I'm not getting people raising their hands and opting into the funnel, then there's something wrong. And then now I've already tested the hook, so we're going to use the same hook, but we're going to try a different caption to get them to raise their hands to go inside of the funnel. So do you see now how every day I can move with a lot more intention versus trying to figure out how to get this whole Instagram thing to work and hoping a post works? At this point, it's a matter of if when it's going to work, not if. So once I get a viable hand raiser that's getting leads in, at that point, I can start to check, are these leads converting? And then, like I said, I can look at now the funnel data, now that I know that my traffic is coming in, and figure out what is needed in order to actually get these people to convert. Where are they getting stuck? And if they're not getting stuck and they're going all the way to the sales, then that's great because now I've moved from troubleshooting into optimizing. And so then here is the key. So where's all the work done? Okay, this you literally build once. Okay. And with AI now, it takes like 2 seconds. Now, let me actually be clear. It can take like 3 days. so, so what I mean by that is that AI makes it so easy to actually build out these assets and drop them into whatever funnel builder you use. And to be quite honest, no, I don't really believe you can just type into your AI and say, build me a funnel. And I'm going to get to that in a second when I talk about the buyer journey and the actual key that unlocks all of this, which is right here. Okay. So I'm going to just continue to show you what this machine looks like. So I build this one time. And here's the thing, I can replicate this infinitely and just swap out the information. So is the work? The work is the 20 trial reels that I post every day cold. That takes me literally 30 minutes because I batch it out. And then I spend like an hour or so, 30 to 45 minutes optimizing. And I'm looking at the hooks, I'm looking at the captions, and then I'm doubling down so that my next 20 aren't random. They're 20 based on things that I are actually moving forward towards the direction of coming into my funnel. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm always knocking down the dots to move forward, not just randomly building. And then as people are coming into my funnel, then I should be checking my trial reels data to continue to double down on winners while checking my funnel to make sure that there is no blocks and there's no leaks. So then here's the other part. Now, I don't teach this part, but I'm going to just share this sauce with you. Okay. I don't teach this part. I'm going to share it with you. Before I set up my traffic and allow my traffic to run into my funnels, I set up my middle of funnel and my bottom of funnel ads. You can literally spend $1 to $3 a day. These do not fire off. They're behavior-based ads. They do not fire off until someone reaches certain. So let's say somebody comes in with the trial reels. I'm going to get another color. Okay. And they do not opt in. Well, guess what? A middle of funnel ad is going to follow them and try to push them in what direction? Forward. Let's say that they opt in, but they do not, and they become a lead, but they do not purchase. Guess what? Another ad is going to pick them up on that condition of the journey. And then let's say they get to the sales and they get to the checkout, but they don't, then this last little ad follows and picks them up. So now I have, excuse me, a middle funnel and bottom funnel ads running on top of this, which again, what does that give me? More data. Okay, so from here to here, I can see where all the bottlenecks are. And let me tell you, it's very, very simple once you see it the first time. So with middle of funnel and bottom of funnel, that's your retargeting ads. They do not fire off unless someone actually triggers that behavior, which is great because that means you're only spending for people that are extremely warm, showing intent. Now, obviously, there's a way that you set this up. You want it to be done correctly. You want to make sure you have your pixels in place and you are, um, uh, putting your exclusions and properly setting it up. But once you set it up, it's very, very simple. So then what happens is that whenever I get this traffic in, I have no leaky buckets. A lot of times people will send all of this traffic and people do not convert to leads or they don't convert to sales and they just never hear from you again. But when you have middle of funnel and bottom of funnel in place, they will literally them everywhere. And it's kind of probably something you've experienced where you've, you know, opted into something and you're like, why are this person's ads following me everywhere? And I even have a step forward with my middle of funnel ads of if they do not, if they see like a trial reel and they do not get to the lead magnet page at all, like so there's a middle of funnel that bounces to them if they get to the opt-in page but don't convert. But there's even one that's before that. Acquire Pixels is just actually creating it with your and if actually opt in, then I start to follow them again here from this point as well. Okay. So just bear with me. I know this might seem complicated, but I'm telling you, it's actually really, really, really simple. You set up your lead and sales systems. Once you know, okay, that's enough, Yaka. Once you know exactly what middle of funnel, bottom funnel ads to set up, boom, you're good. Guess what? You set them up once, and then you are spending majority of your days optimizing your trial reels because you need that cold top of funnel traffic. Can you go straight to ads? Yes, but most people don't really have that budget. And then also, even if you do, I would rather test my messaging cold first organically, which is what Instagram trial reels allows you to do, so that I'm not spending money trying to figure out my messaging and my audience. Because once you figure out your messaging, then here is the beautiful part. Then you get to take those winning trial reels that convert, make sure you use royalty-free music, and you get to now create a cold top of funnel ad using that very same exact creatives. Your trial reels show up as creatives for Facebook ads. This is when you put, $5 to $10 a day. And then guess what? If you did decide to stop posting trial reels for a while, you now have a viable traffic engine growth going into a lead and sales that convert that is now working for you. Do you see how you get here? And it is very simple. This is not months and months and months and months to do this. It doesn't take that. That's why I say you have to understand how this works to show you how to get there. Now, when you're at $5 to $10 a day, very simple numbers. What you're starting to look for is your customer acquisition cost. How much does it cost you to get this customer over here? Okay. And then if you can run it for 30 days, what is your ROAS? What is your return on ad spend? Because then if you're looking to get to a restful revenue of, 10,000 a month, you're going to actually know what it is. You're going to say every $5 I spend, I make 97. So then do the math to 10K. And then at that point, all you're doing is tweaking this from $5 to $10 to $20 a day to whatever in order to get to that number. This is just one system. And do you see the power of what this can do for you? And it doesn't have to take a lot. Now, the key components, though, is I do like to use evergreen low ticket offers in order to do this. And again, I'm not going to get into all of the details, but if you have an evergreen offer and you offset it with a $12 order bump, then you can offset your current costs and then only the money that you're making from your ads should you put back into your ads. And this is how you begin to build a self-liquidating offer that funds your ads. And then now all of a sudden you'll be able to use that data to then create one of these cash flow systems that begin to generate for you. Okay, so now I'm clear all of this. So let's say you have this cash flow system, traffic lead sales, and it's going to like, $47 offer, $12 order bump. Cool. That is generating five, 3,000 ever, dollars a month. Your lead and sales system is a funnel. You have a cold ad that's running here. Whatever you decide, like you can continue to post travel reels if you want to, if you don't have to, but why? I mean, why not? That's like 600 ads a month. And then on your Instagram, do whatever you want. Talk about your authority posts. Yeah, if you want. Learn how to turn Instagram into its own like true, money making machine. Like do that. Now you can do that. Now you can launch. Now you can do all the other stuff. Because then here is the next piece that comes along to it. So because you now are knowing, okay, I'm spending $5 to $10 a day, it's netting me this every month, you're starting to build sustainability and predictability. But that's not the only place that it stays. Because now, after they finish one offer, this is where, and this is kind of again what your gurus and experts who do this organically, this is literally the same thing that we're all doing. Now, on the back end, it's pushing another offer, whether that be through email remarketing, through a funnel that fires off once they finish this, whether that be through ads. I don't know. I'm not getting into the details. So now, you push someone from 197 in, I mean, from their $47 offer. And let's just say, in a perfect world, they, take the bump. So that one person was 59. And once you get this next content, so this is when we get into the continuity. Once you get this continuity strategy in place, all of a sudden that one person is now on autopilot purchasing the next offer, and it's $256 is what now this customer is worth. So when you have this one entry point and you're spending ads, you're no longer saying, oh, $5 a day is only bringing me, a $59 sale. Now, once you get your continuity and retention strategy going, and again, there's numbers to tell you what's working and what's not, then all of a sudden that one initial bump is now worth 256. And this is when you start to get into that information of someone asking, what's your customer lifetime value? And and then they're saying, oh, what's your cost per acquisition? This is when you're starting to get into that place. And I mean, you can do so many things with this from this place, but then also you can create a new funnel that's going into this. Now, guess what? You have two entry doors, right? Because it should be an ecosystem of of cash flow systems. It should be an ecosystem of funnels, not just one. So now this is your continuity strategy in place. Again, maybe now you can have a monthly recurring revenue offer. So something that membership or whatever the case is, and that's going to build on your continuity. Now that you actually are using your emails, things are working properly, you can actually remarket to your current audience with your email list. That's another part of your continuity and retention strategy. And then guess what? Your next offer, like you can continue to create this offer path, this offer suite, right? So many people are trying to create the offer suite without starting with one and allowing the data to help you guide it. Ultimately, though, this should then lead to like your signature program. And now, anytime you open up your cohorts or spots for your signature program, instead of trying to do a launch, trying to do leads, which again, you can do all those things. I'm not saying that they're wrong. It's just you've been doing it. And why have you not have created consistent cash? Because it's the harder journey. So now what ends up happening is that you have all these buyers coming in, buyers at 57, ascending to 197. Doesn't even have to be ascending. They could go to a $47 offer. But, again, you want this, you have to make sense with your offer suite. And that's another topic for another day. But you have them buying. So then by the time you open up a cohort, they've already gone and consumed so much of your stuff and prayerfully got results. Because another thing is that if you do not have good results, this doesn't work either. But let's say you were someone that has good of hires into your signature offer. And then this is when it's best to do a launch because now you have people that you can actually take through that actually trust you and are ready. And then you can go and find and fill it with new cold leads. So once you're starting to see this system, right? So I'm going to clear this again. You have a continuity system here. That's a whole strategy, and that's really what creates the consistent cash flow. But you should have multiple cash flow systems right here, right? Running into your continuity system. This is the true place that gives you sustainable offers. However, let's say you're doing that and you've noticed that people don't buy after your offer, then that's probably an offer system issue. Maybe you have a fulfillment issue. Maybe your offer is too difficult. And but now do you see you're not struggling trying to make money and then you're realizing, oh, I actually have an offer delivery problem. It's hard to start to see all of the other problems that you have. And then, yes, if you want to go your community and your brand and your yapping and all stuff, to do that on top of one, your first cash flow system that's working for you before multiplying it, and then making sure you start to put in a continuity and retention system so that, again, what makes your cash flow sustainable, repeatable, and predictable. Because now numbers that are going to allow you to see where things are working and why they're not. So now I'm going to get into the big key piece that makes all of this work. Okay. And it is your messaging. It is the bridge between the two of these. Okay. It is that story of you got to take someone from point A to point B. And if you do not know how to create your, it is very difficult to do what I just said. So once you create your buyer journey, it's your starting point. It's the top of funnel. It's what they need to know all the way down to, hey, yes, I want to buy with you. And then you have to figure out what levers, what dominoes to knock down, what to push in order to help them to move forward, to remove any friction, to answer any questions for a smooth buying process. You have to know what this is, and then you map out your strategy. So once you have your buyer journey, this is when then I say, okay, this is my lead and my sales system. So because my lead and sales system starts at middle of funnel and bottom of funnel, okay? I start my fast funnels at someone who is solution seeking or solution aware. I don't start my funnels at problem aware. I don't start them backwards there. So now I know how to pull from my buyer journey each part that needs to fill this strategy. With my cold, I start at problem aware. I cast a wide net, and I do that with my hook. And then guess what my caption does? My caption takes that problem awareness person and brings them into the point of solution seeking, which is why then I earn the click or earn for them to opt in. Do you see now how this is strategic? Then when I have a cold, let's say I'm getting trial reels, then I've got that problem awareness part. The very first problem awareness that's important to them. The very first major problem or micro problem, whatever is the highest value problem. That's what I'm putting in my cold trial reels, and then I'm turning it into ads because I want to work smarter, work harder. I want to buy back my time. Boom, boom, boom. So now I've covered this part of the journey. I've knocked down this dominoes. By the time they come into my funnel, they're solution aware, solution seeking. Okay. Because again, I'm not starting at problem aware. Again, my lead magnet and my emails move them through bottom of funnel. My sales page and middle of funnel, and my sales page and my abandoned cart move them through bottom of funnel. Each specific asset has a specific job. So my fast funnel lives offline. I'm currently using trial reels. I'm actually going to be starting threads as well. And some of my trial reels are now graduating into ads. Do you see what I'm saying? And then again, I run parallel ads, middle of funnel and bottom of funnel. And they need to be middle of funnel and bottom of funnel, but they do different jobs from my top of funnel ads, and they do different jobs alongside lead and sales. So the cool part is I just pull things out of my funnel and I repeat them in my trial reels. I mean, in my middle of funnel and top of funnel, bottom of funnel ads. This is the entire cash flow system. And I'm telling you, once you see it, it's not difficult. It's really not. So at the end of the day, when you're looking at this, your messaging has to be there. If you do not know buyer journey and you're trying to fill the words, this is one of the biggest reasons why this doesn't work, regardless of if you're doing organic or whatever the case is. What takes someone from A to B, map that out, and then fill in the words with their own words. Now, I'm not going to get into all the details because being able to create messaging that converts is a whole different situation. Now, inside of Fast Funnel, I do bake a lot of the messaging frameworks in there. So I do show you how to actually accomplish this. But in terms of teaching it to you individually, no. I teach it to you and show you how to put it into a funnel so that you can see your conversion messaging. And remember, this is all living on the back end. So many of you are so tired of posting on Instagram and wondering when the next post is going to be the thing that makes, or the next strategy is going to be the thing that makes the sale. And that's just impossible, especially if you don't even know what your buyer journey is and what your messaging is. And then on top of that, you're trying to figure out how to use Instagram. And then on top of that, the algorithm isn't serving anything. That's so hard. That's so hard. Instead, build a lead and sales system that already has conversion baked in, that already has the buyer journey baked in. Okay. And then I show you how to actually create top of funnel posts. Then grab the trial reels program and turn those top of funnel posts into trial reels. And now you have each system running. And then, like I said, I show you how to test until you take someone from here to here. And then again, if you want to do ads, that's a whole different conversation. You can message me. We can talk about like what that looks like. So my hope is that you're seeing now why doing this organically is the hard route. To nurture system, lead and sales system all in one. You have to do the funnel correctly. Okay. Now, if you have a funnel that converts, boom, you're in a good place. Then get some traffic, turn on trial reels, turn the winners on ads, and then you have a viable system. And guess what? You should have multiple versions of that system. And then because you can see the data every month, you can predict it every month, you're starting to step into sustainable cash flow. Cool. You're in a good place, right? Then start maybe building out your offer suite and increasing your customer lifetime value. If you don't have a funnel that converts, if you're not really making sales, then you got to fix your messaging, right? Or let's say you're making sales as you've launched the offer, you've done, if you get on sales calls, it works. Okay, well, extract that messaging, put it into a funnel, extract the messaging from the funnel, put it in reels and your traffic, and then you're good. And at the end of the day, again, you can decide what it looks like for you. Growth traffic could be TikTok, it could be your Instagram, it could be whatever, right? But if you are relying on your content to be the nurture and the sales event, or you're launching to be the nurtures and the sales event, that's why it's going to be really hard. And you're going to stay on the path where you're using strategies that are only designed to create sales once. Build a funnel. Okay, build a funnel, get it to convert, and then find a traffic source that you like, pick it, make it work, and get someone to a sale. And then by all means, automate it. Automate it. TikTok ads, Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram. I don't know. But until you have this continuous machine running, you will not have a sustainable system. Okay. You make one of these, you replicate it, make more, make more, make more. Then, wow, you can have consistent, predictable cash flow every month because you can literally predict your numbers. And then compound it with a continuity and retention strategy, and you have a solid foundation on what your business can run on. And then grow your community, your brand, yap, your authority, go on podcasts, write the books, do all the things, da da da. And then just make sure you pay your taxes on this. Okay. And if you tithe because by revelation, the Holy Spirit taught you what that meant, please tithe. And then be a good steward to your money. And at the end of the day, be obedient to God in all of this. So you may need to watch this 10,000 times. I don't know. But my prayer is that you see business as a whole entire system that is a machine that's ran by entire systems. And this cash flow system right here is the most important. If you do not right and you do not choose sustainable strategies that are designed to create consistency, predictability, repeatability, and sustainability, you're going to stay stuck in a hard place. Absolutely, organic can work because after you build this once, like I told you, you get your time back. So you should just be showing up on organic now, compounding the systems that are underneath you. And when you get one system to work, boom, pour gasoline onto that, start compounding things around it, build more systems. And you can see that you have two separate runs. You have your back end or powered systems, sustainable systems that are running for you. And then whatever you decide to do on the front end with your brand, with organic and all that stuff. And then the organic, once that starts to blow up and the algorithm starts showing your stuff to people, that gets fed in. Your podcast gets fed into this, your YouTube channel, your TikTok channel, your threads. So anyways, that is it. I need to take you off outside because I'm literally holding her in the air because she's going to keep crying if I don't. And my noise canceller does not work. But my prayer is that you get this. Like I said, run it back 10,000 times until you see the systems and then see where your gap is. If you have a funnel that get growth. If you don't have a funnel that works, fix your messaging. If you are making sales but the offers are falling short, fix your offer delivery. Been selling your offer, but you can't do it without a launch or in between content, then get a funnel and then find a more tangible traffic source. And you see what I'm saying? Build in order, build with momentum, and buy back time. I'm not saying you can't do any of those other organic strategies. Just do them on top of a sustainable system. Because what else have you been doing for the last, years and you haven't got there yet? And again, the organic gurus have a system as well. And once you see it, once you see what theirs looks like, which takes some time to compound, you'll realize we're all operating off the same thing. I'm just getting to the one that works faster and then powering all the organic and the referrals and all that on top of it. And it's a wrap. Okay. And then, like I said, at the end of the day, we're kingdom entrepreneurs. This doesn't circumvent our intimacy and our obedience with God to all areas of our life. But at the same time, I've been so frustrated by my friends and women and other entrepreneurs that I'm like, well, your offer is so life changing. And the only thing that's holding them back is financial instability because they're just doing things that were never designed to create sustainable cash flow. They just can't. And in order to do it, you need a lot of moving pieces and you need them to count and you need the algorithm to work for you in order for that to happen. It's just a reality. And also, last little thing, as marketers, sometimes we'll say whatever it needs to be said to make the sale. Organic's dead. Ads are dead. Funnels are dead. Evergreen is dead. I don't need ads. I did this without ads. I did this without organic. It's all just marketing. That's why when you understand the business system and you allow the Holy Spirit to lead you to where exactly you need to this, where exactly you need to put the engine in and where you're going to get your gas from, then you're going to be able to cut out a lot of noise. And then you're also going to be able to decipher with the marketing messaging to be like, oh, they're just saying that to sell, but that's not necessarily true. That's why a lot of times in my marketing messaging, I don't put down other sources and say, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that because it's not true. They all still work. They all literally still work, but they're based off of basic business principles that do not change. And once you understand and see what those are and see what those systems are, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to link a few things down below. My trial reels program, if you want to do it with me, let's go. I'm going to link fast funnels. What else am I going to link? I'm going to link my Instagram. So if you want to talk ads or whatever the case is, we can figure that out. I am not by means an ads expert, but I have figured out to start the fire for getting your ads done. And then I pass it off to someone else who does it. And then also, if you kind of want to just go deeper into what this business machine looks like, I'll also give you access to my school portal where I actually break down all of this even more in depth, like go into deeper depth. And you can check that out too as well. So each of them will be there. And most importantly, please, if you found this to be valuable, share the link with a friend. Share the link with a friend of someone who needs it. I need all of us kingdom entrepreneurs that are called to the marketplace to be unlocked in our cash flow. That is the one thing that's been holding so many kingdom entrepreneurs back is that they do not have consistent cash flow where they can actually run their business with the stability to pay their family, to take care of their family, to take care of their expenses, and then have a foundation to grow on so that they can actually scale. Okay? You can't be jumping into seven-figure funnels when you don't even have a seven-figure foundation. Like it's that sometimes it's just so hard. And that's why now you're going to be able to see this is what I need, right? So like I knew I wanted to do threads, but I had to wait until I finished setting up my foundation because I'm going to look at threads not as, oh my God, I hope this makes me a sale. No. Threads is going to be a viable traffic source that goes into a pipeline I already have working. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's what my desire is and my prayer is for you. So if you do find this valuable, please share it with anyone that you think that could benefit from this. Like, let's all at minimum have sustainable cash flow so that we can step into our restful revenue number. And that number is whatever is needed for you to be able to do your ministry in peace and stability. Rich and Rested first starts in Christ, but there is a peace and stability that comes with it. And I'm also going to actually link my Rich and Rested devotional to help you figure out what that number is for yourself before you start scaling to all the other places. Because if not, we're waiting on a prayer, hoping that, $1 million falls out the sky. And, while God is the God of the impossible and he can do anything, he's also very practical, right? When he talks about giving us the capacity, that's wisdom. our body, our nervous system, our mindset, spirituality, more awareness of the Holy Spirit and what He can do in us. But sometimes it's also very practical. You don't have an engine. And if you do have an engine, you're not putting gas in it. Gas is the traffic, the engine is the nurture and sales. And those three need to work together in order to move your business along. Okay, so I pray that this blesses you. And yeah, thanks.